We believe Bitcoin is the native currency of the internet in the world. Lightning is basically infinite. You can facilitate millions or billions of payments. Everyone in the world has their own keys to their money and also their speech through Nostr. You might have an AI agent, right? Your Bitcoin wallet is connected to your AI agent. You can say, book me a trip to Berlin for a week, and it will just make the payments. It will organize everything for you. I think AI gives us the ability to spend more time actually building quality products and ideally a better world.
The Industrial Revolution propelled humanity forward into an era of rapid changing growth, and we are set to do it again. But how do we get there? Today I'm sitting down with Roland Bewick of Alby Hub, the cutting-edge team blending Lightning, Nostr, and AI to supercharge self-sovereignty. We'll unpack Lightning's triumphs and trade-offs, Nostr's decentralized magic, explore the future of Bitcoin AI integration, and why you need this tech to maximize your freedom and productivity. Stick around to make sure you don't miss out on this massive opportunity. Going beyond Bitcoin to bring you the skills and insights you need to escape the fiat matrix. This is Mentor Sessions. All right. Good morning, Roland. Thank you so much for joining me today. I really want to get into kind of the Lightning app developments and everything you're doing over at Alby. And really, you guys are on the cutting edge of both like Lightning and Nostr and AI integration as well, too. So there's tons to unpack there in terms of like how you're able to use these tools and why it's so important. But even before we go there, just to give people, because there's a lot of newcomers in the space. I don't think people still realize that I'm very fortunate working as an educator here, that there is still a ton of new people coming in. And despite all the resources that we have, it's like drinking from a fire hose of information, right? Just assessing like on-chain, off-chain, what's going on here. So just to kind of give us a quick lay of the land, give everybody a framework to build off of, just give us your kind of interpretation. You're talking to somebody new. How are you explaining the Lightning Network, just to begin with?
Yep. So if we go back to just on-chain Bitcoin, there's rumors it's just never going away, right? That Bitcoin is too slow. That's like the main argument for the shitcoins. But there's Lightning, which is basically a layer on top of Bitcoin, which enables instant settlement and low fees.
That's beautiful. Sorry, continue. Yes.
Yeah. So there's a lot of trade-offs. But one thing you should know is, as a layer 2 on top of Bitcoin, it means you can unilaterally exit. So you don't have to trust the network, your money. If you ever want to return back to on-chain Bitcoin, you can.
You can always just settle that up. What are those trade-offs? Like, I mean, everything in life has trade-offs, obviously. When you're using Lightning, what are the trust trade-offs? What is the additional risk, or what are we giving up in terms of on-chain to get those benefits from your assessment?
Yeah, so there's quite a few additional complexities with Lightning. So it's a network just like Bitcoin, right? And everyone has a Lightning node. And basically, to make a payment through the Lightning network, you have to connect your Lightning node to other nodes. And how that works is a channel, right? So you have a channel from your node to one or more other nodes. And then when you make a payment, the payment will jump through these nodes. But because it's on-chain Bitcoin, you basically have to lock up your Bitcoin in order to do this. So for new users, they might not even have Bitcoin, right? So how do you even lock this up? That's one thing. Also, the liquidity management. So there's definitely some downsides, but on the other hand, just 2 on-chain transactions, right? So an opening channel transaction and later a closing transaction, you can facilitate millions or billions of payments. So Bitcoin on-chain, 7 transactions per second is the theoretical limit, but Lightning is basically infinite. It can be a huge network, and each node probably can process about 20 to 30 transactions per second, but there can be an infinite number of nodes, right? So payments can go through any path on the network. So it's infinitely scalable. There's no need to use some other high scale layer 1 cryptocurrency.
Oh, that's beautiful. And if I understand correctly, too, that the Bitcoin that you lock up in the channel, that has to be in a hot wallet. That has to be online at all times as well, too, correct?
Yes. So there's more risk there, and there's risk as a node runner that your channels can get closed, and then you have to not open new channels. There's a lot of difficulties, but there's a really cool quote from Megalith, one of our LSPs. It's kind of like back in the day, you would have like a car and cars were just invented, and maybe it's awesome to drive, but sometimes your tires will blow out. You have to push the car along the road. That's kind of what Lightning was like a few years back, and now every single year we're making so many more improvements. It's becoming more stable. Is growing as a network, and today, I mean, it's still not perfect. Nothing is, but you can get a high rate of success and really, really cheap and fast payments. So I'm still pretty bullish on Lightning.
That's awesome. I was gonna say, yeah, compared to like even where it was a few years ago, I rarely have a transaction fail. Like it still happens from time to time, but it rarely happens at this point. I was using it last, even just in the real world at the SAP market here in Calgary, little farmers market, everyone coming together, selling goods and services for Bitcoin. And again, it's gotten to the point where like I'm not even remotely worried about it. It goes through. There's enough of that network infrastructure where it's not necessarily a problem anymore. I do want to even just touch on Nostr before we dive in a bit deeper, but just quickly. Maybe not quickly. Maybe there's a great story here. So you've been working as a Lightning developer since about, is it 2021, 2022, somewhere around there? Or Lightning app developer, sorry. Yeah.
I've been working at Alby for about 2 years now, but before that, I worked on a few other Lightning-based projects, did some hackathons and stuff.
Very cool. It's a bit of a compressed time frame, but even over the time that you've been in the space working on the Lightning app development, have there been any major challenges that you've seen overcome or any kind of big improvements in that time?
Yeah, I think especially Alby Hub, the product that we work on, has really made it easier for normal users to run a self-custodial Lightning wallet. And there's a few things we do there to make that possible. The struggles that we've seen from people who, have to run LND or Core Lightning and, use the command line and download these different software and all this stuff. And, which channel, who should I open a channel with? How do I get my first channels open? All those things we kind of abstract them away, make it really easy for a user to get started just with a few clicks. So from our side, I think the Lightning Network has really become a lot easier to use for people who want to, own their keys, own their money, but also not just what we're building, but internally. So we use LDK, which is a node implementation, has come leaps and bounds, like so many releases, so many bug fixes, a lot of issues, with maybe payments failing or unfortunately a channel getting closed. A lot of these things have been addressed. And then also we connect to, of course, like an external LND node, and they continually do releases as well. So things have become a lot more stable over time.
That's very cool. I'm curious, you might not have the answer for this, but I was thinking about it while you were chatting there too. One of the things, so again, like I do not have the greatest technical understanding, right? But I try to dive in as much as I can. And again, when something kind of piques my curiosity, I'll kind of go and explore it and see if I can make it make sense to me. At least that's a better way than I can communicate to everybody else as well too. One of the things that I still haven't quite figured out, maybe you have some insight on this, when we're actually doing a Lightning transaction and we're routing those payments, how is it, do you have any insight on how the nodes are actually finding a path? Like how they're determining which way to go? Is it that they have to be aware of all the other nodes that they're connected to? Or do you have any kind of hint to the background of what's happening there when a channel payment is routing?
Yep. So the Lightning node basically needs a graph of the entire network. So traditionally this is done through gossip, and that's actually what we also do with Alby Hub. So basically when you connect to one or more nodes, it will send information back and forth to say, okay, this is my view of the network. And from that, within a few minutes, your node will get a good understanding of all the nodes in the network. And even before it tries to make a payment, it will do the pathfinding itself. So it doesn't really rely on other nodes at the time of payment. It already has the information. It knows, okay, this will be the cheapest path. It knows the fees along the path, all these things. And then it will just try and attempt different paths. So it'll choose the best one first, and if that fails, then it will try another path until it times out, or, I mean, ideally succeeds, right? Which is last year I went to El Salvador for adopting Bitcoin and stayed there for a month, running my Alby Hub node, and I didn't have a single payment for that entire month. I was spending off Bitcoin, so it's pretty awesome.
Oh, that's pretty cool. I was gonna say those events, I imagine, are like great opportunity to test it out, to try it out in the real world, and to see that kind of success is always phenomenal. Just out of curiosity, when you went to learning Bitcoin, sorry, not learning Bitcoin, you went to El Salvador there.
Adopting Bitcoin, yeah.
Adopting Bitcoin, thank you. Adopting Bitcoin in El Salvador. I've got Learning Bitcoin coming up in Vancouver here in just a couple of weeks, which is why it's at top of mind. When you're at Adopting Bitcoin in El Salvador, were you routing Lightning payments that were still going back to like your resident and your node? Like, were you using your own self-hosted at that point? And was it routing all the way back through and still no issues?
So I actually went with a team member. So I run Alby Cloud. So it's a hosted service by us where basically you can pay a few dollars a month and we manage the infrastructure, make sure you have reliable payments online, always 24/7. But my friend, he self-hosts on his umbrella, and that was back in Europe. And he flew over here, and again, he was making all the payments, So awesome, right? Like coming from the fiat world, right? Every time you make a payment, it goes through these intermediaries. You go there and I don't know, just the freedom, right, of opening your Lightning wallet, scanning at the point of sale. It's just so awesome. One thing I should mention there though is so you only actually route payments if you run a public node and open public channels. A lot of end users can just run a private node, so they have private channels. They're more like an end user, so they're not really helping facilitate payments, but they are helping the network because they have to spend fees, right, to make payments. But you as a routing node, you also facilitate payments and earn fees from that. So it's up to you what type of node you want to run. But for most people, I would say run a private node. You have more private transactions, and if your hardware, like if you don't run a professional node, you probably shouldn't route, right? Because you can actually make the network worse. Like you can make payments fail more often for other people. So yeah, you have to kind of make the choice there.
That's a good distinction. And just to put a bow on to, so essentially when we're running a public Lightning node, then we're allowing other people to route through us. But then that means we're going to have to manage liquidity depending on which way it's going. If someone's basically going, if you're only going to one end of the channel, and the first thing that comes to mind is I remember Ben talking about, he put out he did some sort of a Lightning tutorial, and I think he posted his information for people to connect to him, and just immediately like that channel liquidity was on all one side of the channel. Like he was just completely drained in the sense that he wasn't able to use it. I think was it for outbound payments? Either way, it couldn't. The amount of management that it required, I think he switched back to a private implementation at that point. And so it's funny too. Another one that reminded me of just telling about that story of El Salvador was I remember that we were in Bitcoin Mentor and BTC Sessions. We were in Ontario for an event, and Ben was doing a demonstration. And this stuff seems like absolute magic to me in the background, right? Like it's incredible what we can pull off and how fast we can do it. But Ben was giving a live tutorial on Bitcoin, and what he did just in front of the audience, and again, it's almost instantaneously, he pulls up a donation. I don't know if it was the address or QR for the I think it was for the Human Rights Foundation. And we were in Ontario, and it was going through his node back in Calgary, Alberta, all the way over to Oslo to get to the Human Rights Foundation. And we had it on the screen, and you could see instantly received. Like that, it went through like there was no problems. It was incredible, the power of the tech here. One thing that I do want to tease out, because you kind of touched on it a little bit there too, in terms of the privacy that we get with Lightning transactions, and you're saying that running your own private implementation is going to give you a little bit additional privacy. What kind of privacy are we getting? What are the implications? What are maybe the shortcomings? Can you expand a little bit on privacy and Lightning?
Yeah, I can expand a bit. So sender privacy is really great. But receiver privacy on Bolt 11 is not so good at the moment, because basically you create an invoice, and the Lightning invoice itself has your node ID in it. So basically, if you receive multiple payments, the person paying can kind of gather knowledge, right, about your receiving, like what you are receiving, and this is kind of solved with Bolt 12, with blind paths. Basically, I'm not like a Lightning protocol developer.
Yeah, no worries. Giving you all the hard questions because they're coming top of mind.
But basically, you kind of give shards of your node ID to multiple routing nodes. So when you receive a payment, they can kind of reconstruct it, or multiple hops, I think, and reconstruct it, and then send it to you. And I'd like to say, just fundamentally as well, Lightning is more private than Bitcoin, right? Because Bitcoin is public ledger. whereas a Lightning payment is going through a specific route on the Lightning network. That payment is not on chain. It's just the knowledge of basically the sender and receiver and the nodes along the path. So that's definitely an increase. When you run a public node, right, everyone has knowledge of all your channels. They don't know what liquidity you have, and they don't know what payments are going through, but they still have more knowledge about you than you as a private node runner, where only your channel partners or your peers know who you are.
Beautiful. Sorry, I apologize. We got really deep into Lightning there. I had so many questions I wanted to run past you and get your thoughts on, but I do want to even step back again. For anyone who's new to the space, I'm sure they would have heard of Nostr, but maybe they haven't necessarily played around with it. For most people, I think the first touch point of Nostr is just going to be like that Twitter-like experience, right? Primal or Damus, something along those lines. Can you give us even just a quick overview of what it actually is and maybe some of the other applications that it might have?
Yep. If we step back a bit, if you understand what Bitcoin is, right? It's like you have your own keys to your own money. You're fully in control. And I would say the same thing about Nostr, kind of. You have your keys. So it's not like you have an account on Twitter or Facebook and your user is just like a entry in someone's database, right? And they can delete you at any time. They can even impersonate you. This is like with keys, mathematically, you are the only one who can prove your identity, as long as you don't, lose your key or share it with other people. So this enables you to post notes, sign the note that you post and share it. And the difference between, again, just posting to Facebook like a central server, instead you post to multiple relays, and all these relays contain a copy of all the notes that you've posted if you're connected to them. And basically when you fetch information, you can fetch data from all these relays. So it's decentralized and a lot more censorship resistant than traditional social media. But Nostr is way more than that, right? It's not just social media. These things like, the keys, how the cryptography works, also how the relays and stored data enable a huge bunch of different use cases. So Nostr Wallet Connect, I can talk about that later, but basically a way to connect your self-custodial node to an application seamlessly. It's powered through a Nostr relay. So basically doing requests back and forward, and the relay kind of just facilitates the request, enables you to privately interact with your Lightning node. There's other use cases as well, like games. You could store all the social information in games, or you could have even, escrow systems like robo-sats, for buying or selling Bitcoin. That basically the ability to store information on multiple relays and other clients can fetch that data really enables a whole bunch of different applications.
Imagine mining Bitcoin cheaper than buying on an exchange, with direct payouts hitting your wallet like clockwork. Saz Mining makes it real. You own the rig, no gimmicks. It's your asset pumping out Bitcoin every single day. No markup on hardware or electricity. They get paid when you get paid, fully aligning incentives. Mining Bitcoin below exchange cost is a great way to DCA your stack. It's so simple, anyone can do it. No tech skills required. You get white glove support and education, a rig performance guarantee, plus it's powered by 100% carbon-free energy prioritizing renewables. Ready to take control of your Bitcoin future? Visit sazmining.com by scanning the QR code or clicking the link in the description down below to book a free consult and start mining today.
Are you still delaying taking self-custody of your Bitcoin? Do you feel secure in your current Bitcoin setup? If something were to happen to you, would your stack make it to your loved ones? At Bitcoin Mentor, we've helped thousands of people level up their Bitcoin security and fast-track their understanding. If you find that you simply don't have the time to go through all the books, the tutorials, the guides, you can book a free one-on-one strategy session with myself, Gary, or any of the other great mentors by visiting bitcoinmentor.io. Scan the QR code or simply click the link in the description down below to find out how Ben and the entire expert team at Bitcoin Mentor can help you accelerate your Bitcoin journey. Use promo code BTC Sessions for 10% off.
That's very cool. I do want to unpack Nostr Wallet Connect there for a second, because that one I don't quite understand what's going on behind the scenes, and I'm curious how it's private as well too, because trying to connect to your own node remotely can sometimes be a bit of a pain if you're going over Tor or you have to use like Tailscale or something to get in there. But using Nostr Wallet Connect to get to your own node seems very easy, almost too easy. Like it works very well and very fast as well too. So my first instinct is like, okay, if there's some sort of communication going over the Nostr network there, that would be publicly available, and there might be a privacy leak because anybody else might be able to see the request that you're making of your device. But I've got no idea what's actually going on there in the background. So could you unpack that a little bit for me? Help me understand what's actually happening.
Yeah, sure. So it's why it's so easy. Actually, you don't need any, additional setup, because all it is your Lightning wallet, wherever it's running, it's connected to a relay, right? So it's a normal HTTP connection, a normal internet connection. And need to collect my thoughts here. So basically, there's a privacy part, right? That your IP is connected to this relay, and so all the nodes connected, all the clients connected to this relay. The relay knows the IPs, but they do not. The relay does not understand the request at all. They're end-to-end encrypted. That's one thing. And also, other users cannot just fetch all the data on the relay. So the relay we build for Nostr Wallet Connect and recommend for other builders who run Nostr Wallet Connect relays. So one thing about Nostr, right, you can have standard relays for, standard social media cases, but you can also have specialized relays. And that's what we run at Alby. We run a relay for Nostr Wallet Connect exclusively. And basically the way we do it is we ensure that when you set up a connection, so from an application to the wallet, only the wallet and application can actually read the messages. So everyone else using the relay cannot see what's going on. And even if they could, they can't decrypt it anyway. We can't decrypt it. We have no idea what's going back and forth. We only know that they are actually Nostr Wallet Connect related messages.
That is very cool. All right. So with that, we got a lot of stuff kind of out of the way there in lane land of what actually is going on here. I want to touch on, so I know that in terms of, we mentioned Boat 12 earlier, we recently had a new update from Get Alby as well too, from Alby Hub. It's version 1.18, if I'm not mistaken, that had a ton of new things in there. Can you give me a bit of the lay of the land? What is it that you guys are trying to build over at Alby? And more importantly, why are you doing all this work over at Alby?
Yep. So what we do at Alby is we're trying to make it easier for users and businesses to use Bitcoin and Lightning. So we believe Bitcoin is the native currency of the internet in the world. And what we're doing is we make tools, we make products, we make services to more easily interact with this. And why is it so important? You can ask why is Bitcoin important, right? We want to be self-sovereign, and we want other people to more easily be onboarded onto the network and understand why Bitcoin is so important, right? And ideally, at least from my perspective, before I die, I would like to see the Bitcoin standard, come to fruition. So what we're doing, so at Alby, we have three core values, right? We have openness or interoperability. So basically, all our products are fully open source. That's one thing. You don't have to trust us at all. The other one is we build on open protocols. So what we build at Alby, we're not just trying to push the Alby ecosystem. We're trying to grow the Lightning and Bitcoin ecosystem as a whole. And the next thing, of course, is self-sovereignty. So when you run an Alby product, run Alby Hub, only you have access to the Bitcoin. You have the keys, you own the keys, you have the Bitcoin. And last thing is innovation. So we're really trying to build on the forefront. So figure out new use cases for using Bitcoin, also AI and Nostr, and combining those. Trying to simplify. So that's what we do with Alby Hub, right? We're trying to make the simplest user-friendly Bitcoin wallet. But then we're also trying to innovate on programmable money, making things more than just scanning a QR code. So that's the whole idea of Nostr Wallet Connect, right? So you have Alby Hub, which is what we call a next generation Lightning wallet. So it's not like a a mobile wallet where you just scan a QR code and pay, and that's basically receive and send. That's basically what it does. But Alby Hub is this always online hub that's actually connected to all the apps you use on a daily basis, and it's seamlessly connected. So you mentioned Nostr before, right? Damus or Amethyst. You connect your node, and then you scroll through and you zap people, and just with one tap, right, you make a payment. And that seamless connection is powered by Nostr Wallet Connect. But that's just a basic use case. In anything that's programmable payments related, you can do with Nostr Wallet Connect. So monthly subscription payments, those can be pulled from the Lightning wallet, paid by the app. Split payments, Lightning Prism, all those sort of things. And also, when you create these connections to your Lightning wallet, it's kind of like the app has kind of some remote control, but you can give it, you as the user, give it the permissions. You choose the permissions that it should have, how much it can spend per day or per month, or actually what methods it has. So maybe it can only receive payments. So we have like a point of sale you can share with your workmates. You can show QR codes, receive payments, but only the owner of the hub can actually spend the money. That's one example. Yeah, so there's a whole bunch of different Lightning methods that your node can do, but only if you give the application access, then it can actually use them. So it's really powerful what you can build with Nostr Wallet Connect. And another thing is, because it's an open protocol, the application developers themselves, they only need to integrate Nostr Wallet Connect, and they can connect to all these different Lightning nodes and Lightning wallets. Before, back in the day, it was really hard. So you'd have to just make like copy an invoice and give it to someone who has to pay, or show a QR code. And if you want like a seamless connection for your app to do more advanced things like automation, or like pay when you click a button and all that stuff, you'd have to build different integrations for different Lightning nodes and different Lightning wallets, and all that stuff is kind of disappeared with Nostr Wallet Connect. It's kind of like, so another one is Lightning addresses, right? Everyone knows, give me your Lightning address, you can receive a payment. So this is another open protocol that we think is super powerful. These two together give Lightning like just as a great user experience.
Yeah, Lightning addresses are absolutely fantastic. I love them. And again, it's another thing that seems like magic, especially even just going from the previous where you have to set the amount to show the invoice and here's the QR. Like, just to be able to give like, oh yeah, it's just Nathan at Alby, which is not mine. Maybe I should make it that. That would be fantastic. But it's 10 times better. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's such an improvement in the user experience that I'm really bullish in the sense of how it's going to impact adoption. So I'm curious then, if we're thinking hyper-Bitcoinization, we know where this is going. We're very excited about the space. The integration of Nostr and Lightning and AI, where do you see this leading to? Is there any sort of what might sound like absurd or crazy implications of this to kind of seamlessly coming together? What's your vision for the future on this?
My ideal future, right, is that every person in the world has their own keys to their money and also their speech, right, through Nostr. We'll see if that actually happens. That's another thing. But AI as well, I think the awesome thing about it is the productivity gain, right? So anything that can be automated will be automated, and what's left over, I think, gives humans actually meaning, right? So whatever they do for work, ideally, like they have the money and the time to choose something that is meaningful. So that's kind of like the philosophical one, but from like a technical side, I would like to see just Bitcoin payments being seamless, right? Nostr, everything's powered by Nostr. So you have your identity through this private key, and you can connect it to all these different apps. And AI cases, actually, you might only just have one app. You might have an AI agent, right? It's connected. Your Bitcoin wallet is connected to your AI agent, plus anything else it needs. You can chat with people, or you can say, book me a trip to Berlin for a week, and it will just make the payments. It will organize everything for you. Like, I think all these things that are just, a task that feels like I wish someone would do it for me. That's what I think about AI, and for me as a programmer, it's kind of a shame because it's so fast changing towards where AI just writes the code and I just review the code. I think that's such a shift for a lot of people. Some people are pushing back, but I think at the end of the day, right, that creating like value is the most important thing. It's not really like the path you have to choose to get there, but it's like if you have an idea, you want to create a quality product, that's what you should focus on, right? So I think AI gives us the ability to spend more time actually building quality products, and ideally like, a better world, better infrastructure, everything we need.
No, I completely agree. It's funny. On that same note, I was curious your thoughts, on kind of the vibe coding and making it so it's lowering the barriers of entry, and it's not just in programming. I see it happening in the arts as well too, like with the way that we have AI video generation, right? Whereas historically, perhaps like there was always the gatekeepers and the capital necessary to create a movie, right? Let's just say you have this great idea for a show or a movie. You were limited by the resources you had access to. But now that barrier is slowly coming down more and more and more, meaning that the best idea and the best stories could be the ones to necessarily rise to the top or get all the attention. Same thing even like in the educational space, which I think this would relate to programming as well too, is that rather than needing an army of programmers, the best programmers can really maximize their time, kind of like you're doing, essentially get a lot of the bulk work done, go and clean up, maybe have some innovative idea of how to approach something to tackle a new problem. But it means that you're going to get a ton more productivity out of one person. And the other thing that really stood out to me when I was thinking about this is like, okay, implications of AI and Nostr and Lightning is one, the AI agent being able to do tasks for you, like your own personal assistant who actually execute on like even the payments layer is really, really cool. But I thought it had, and I think this is probably, I'm curious your philosophical take on this. I think it's going to end up taking a huge bite out of the managerial class. And what I kind of mean by that is in the sense is if we look at any business, you've kind of got three participants there, right? You've got the entrepreneurs who are focused on the future, right? How can we build? How can we grow? What new things can we do? You've got the employees who are working mostly in the present, right? Just trying to execute on whatever the mission is, what needs to be done that day. And managers are very rear facing, right? They're looking at the past data and then trying to make adjustments accordingly. And it seems to me that anything where essentially all you're doing is taking a large swath of historical data and then directly executing on top of it, that can just be automated away. Take like inventory management for one thing. We're low on this, buy more, right? Okay, generally January has a higher bit of this, so it can just look at the historical trends and then stock as needed. Even payroll and things like that as well. You just hear the hours, execute, pay out, which would mean it's like wonderful creative destruction. Because I think that there would be a lot less of those roles necessary that could be automated away. Again, because it's data dependent looking backwards. But that means we'd be pushing hopefully more people even into the entrepreneurial space, making more builders rather than more managers. And that I think gives us huge gains in terms of actual human prosperity, right? It gives us more services, more products, things we didn't even know we necessarily needed. Because the guy that was just managing inventory is now going to go and maybe pursue his own app idea because he can just vibe code it out.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think this is a great thing. I think a lot of people are scared, right, that they will lose their jobs. But the most important human ability, I think, is the ability to adapt. So as long as, and I think you can learn to do that. So yeah, and in the long term, you're going to be more fulfilled, right? If you have the opportunity to work on something you really care about, and essentially creation from yourself, right? It's yeah. I think that's a lot more fulfilling.
Completely agree.
Yep. Just when you mentioned connecting Lightning Wallet to an AI, that's actually a brand new product from Alby. So I'd like to share. It's called basically Alby MCP server. It's a bit complicated, but what it basically means is your AI agent by default. It's just it can answer basic questions, right? It could do web searches, but it doesn't have access to advanced tools. And one of them is like a Lightning wallet, right? So giving access to your Lightning wallet, this is one of the products we built. So anyone, you can just interact with natural language, like say, what's my balance, or pay Nathan $10 or whatever it is. But in the future, I think it's going to be even more exciting, because you can combine these tools, and your Lightning wallet can pay for other tools that cost money, to enable the agent to do all these crazy things. So yeah, we're kind of building way in the future here. It's probably going to take 5 or 10 years for this to come around, but you never know. I'm pretty excited. I love the day where I can just say, order me some food, or book me a trip, or whatever it is, right? And it will pay with Bitcoin. Everything's just done. I think that's so cool.
That's really exciting. That is very cool. I wonder if I just imagine, and it's funny, you say 5, it's so far away, 5 to 10 years. That goes by ridiculously fast. Like, everything is moving so ridiculously fast. 5 years is not a long time. And of course, it's going to be the people that really take advantage of this that'll kind of get that first mover advantage and be able to perhaps make something very powerful out of it. The first thing that popped to mind too is like, I wonder if you could have like one AI agent who's like your master AI agent, who's then able to direct others or go ahead and purchase subscription, like software as a service or tools or plugins or things that it needs. And just, you give it the broader mission. Here's what you're trying to accomplish. Here's your budget. Go do it.
Yep. That's pretty cool.
Right. It's wonderful. I wonder, I'm curious, the team at Alby as well. So I had a conversation a couple of weeks ago with Alex Gladstein from the Human Rights Foundation and the Oslo Freedom Forum. And we were talking about tools for the individual, particularly under like authoritarian regimes. It was your latest release, that one that came out in July, that he brought up directly, specifically referring to the power of like the Bolt 12 Lightning addresses. We've talked kind of about the business use case, and you can think of it like I'll just say Western world kind of use case as well too. But have you guys even considered the implications of what you're building as a human rights tool for basically people in authoritarian regimes that might be, under duress?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, they might not even have access to a bank account, right? And the difference here is, like, yeah, maybe they can have a custodial wallet, but then what happens if the custodial wallet blocks their whole country, right? There's nothing you can do. So Alby Hub, basically, you have your own bank, and you can take it with you wherever, and also you can, escape inflation. So I think not only that, but you can, if you have a computer and you can work a bit, you can charge for your services overseas, right? And you can make a lot of money. It could change your life, your family's life, receiving payments to your Lightning node, or building even Bitcoin apps powered by Alby Hub. I think is really cool. And privacy wise, yeah, we just added Bolt 12, so even when you receive payments, you can quite powerfully hide where you're actually receiving that money, right? So even someone who needs donations, they can run a hub, receive Bolt 12 payments from other people. I mean, it's still a very brand new protocol. Not all wallets support it. Alby Hub right now, it supports receiving, not sending. It's going to take some time for adoption, but yeah, I think it's a good step forward for privacy and for self-sovereignty, right?
No, 100%. Kind of on that same note, that same tangent. I'm curious, from your viewpoint as the Lightning app developer, what are, if any, the scaling limitations of Lightning? Do you guys have any thoughts on what might be necessary to continue to really build up? If we're thinking hyper-Bitcoinization, everybody's on board. Are they using Lightning? Are they using something else kind of built on top? What are the current hurdles that are in the way, if any?
So yeah, there's statistic, right, that if everyone had a Lightning channel, we wouldn't be able to. We would have to entirely fill the mempool for like 2 years straight to open all the channels. So definitely at that point in time, Lightning is not scalable, right? And there's many years from now, I think. Like you can ask, like, yeah, we would have to see a lot of Bitcoin adoption, but we are also, me especially, I'm quite bullish on on Arc, not just because it scales past that limit, right? So with virtual UTXOs, you don't. So even just on Bitcoin, right? Not every person can have an address with money on it, and even if they could, the fees would probably be so high that they would not be able to even spend it. So with Arc and virtual UTXOs, basically a lot of that goes away. But even for now, the next few years, it also solves a lot of user experience issues with running a self-custodial Lightning wallet. So having to open a channel, right? Having to manage your liquidity, all that stuff disappears when you're using Arc. So it basically shifts the model. Instead of each user running their own Lightning node, they share. It's basically called nodeless, right? You have keys, you sign transactions, but actually this Arc server will be the one running a Lightning node, and it will be making payments. So I think in the long term, that's going to be the direction. That's a lot more user friendly because all the responsibility of running Lightning nodes, managing channels, all that stuff goes to a professional, business running this Arc service. And what it basically leaves to the user is that they can instantly receive without any liquidity requirements, and they can send. We have to see in practice like what the fees are, what the limitations are. I mean, because we don't have a stable version running on mainnet, right? So there's Arc Labs, which has a few mainnet payments already, but they're still actively working hard to get it ready for production. And then there's Second, another implementation, and they're in Signet right now, aiming for the end of the year. I think we'll see how things go, which me and Alby team are quite bullish on as well. We have to see how Arc Labs and Second work. Arc Labs is really innovating on the programmable money side, whereas Second is very much focused on retail payments. And their vision is that still Lightning. So Lightning as a whole has a huge network effect already, right? And they see that Lightning is still going to be the main payment rails. So when you pay a merchant, they might, whatever they use might have a different Lightning node than what you're using. So Lightning will be, what actually makes the payment possible. And I think this is the ideal approach because it means Lightning as the network stays decentralized. Hopefully we have a lot of nodes still, but the trend will be towards more high quality production, like big hub nodes that are facilitating all these payments.
Very cool. In that sort of framework too, there must be some sort of trade-off. If we're using, so it sounds like we're using a combination of Arc and Lightning is kind of where you think things might be headed. In your view, and it is a bit of a philosophical question as well too to argue, is that still using Bitcoin in a self-sovereign way if you're using both those protocols together?
Yep. So the really easy way to think about it, Arc and Lightning, is kind of like Liquid, right? Liquid
yep.
swaps. So when you receive a payment, and it's powered by bolts, they will do a swap and you'll receive Liquid. But here with Arc, it's still Bitcoin, right? And that's the cool thing. So there's trade-offs in trust, and there's these things called rounds. So when you receive an off-chain payment to your Arc wallet, at that point in time, there's some trust assumptions. You have to wait for a next round for your BTXOs to be refreshed. At that point, you basically have full 100% custody of the funds, and you can do a unilateral exit. So it is a true layer 2 or whatever you call it, because you can take your funds back to the Bitcoin base layer at that point. But yeah, users have to understand that there is some trust involved. Same as Lightning, right? One thing we do at Alby Hub to improve user experience is to open zero confirmation channels, right? So you can buy a channel from our LSP. Well, we have like 4 LSPs. You can choose which one. And this goes back to the open thing, right? So Alby Hub, you can open channels with whoever you want. It's completely up to you. But we provide these LSPs to improve the experience. So just with one click, you can get a channel. Basically, the LSP will open the channel to you. And they will open a zero confirmation channel. So basically, you can receive funds immediately. But what you have to understand is that there's a trust trade-off, right? Because until there's an on-chain confirmation, this Lightning channel is actually, it doesn't exist in Bitcoin, right? So if the channel is closed before the confirmation happens, which like we monitor these sort of things, but you could end up losing money, right? Because you cannot unilaterally except from a channel that does not exist. And same with ARC, right? There's different trade-offs. So if you receive money, and at that point you kind of have to trust partially the ARC service provider, but and I agree here. Like if the ARC service provider cheats, like, and if someone can prove that they can cheat, it destroys their business model. So I think it's very unlikely that that's going to happen. One thing I think I'm concerned about a bit is like the centralization factor, that there will, but I hope that there will be like a lot of ARC service providers and they will be connected through the Lightning network, right? So when you're paying someone else, it will be a Lightning payment and then an instant swap to VTX. So
very cool. Very cool. So full confession, I was using Alby Hub a while ago, but I don't want to say cheap, I'll say frugal, very frugal. So my setup was old computer parts, and I definitely paid for that because my drive was no good. I was having some issues and thing went down. So played around with it for a bit. And then I was like, okay, I got to rebuild my node. And I was just running on StartOS. I was using Start9's operating system there. And last night I was like, okay, I got the new one built. I bought some better stuff. I'm good to go. I'm like, all right, let me just try and see if I can set this up again. And it only took me an hour maybe, and I was only half doing it. I got Alby Hub back up and running. I got GoAlby on my phone. was sending some Lightning transactions back and forth. I got that channel opened, and it's really easy. It's really ridiculously easy how fast you can get this up and running. So for anyone that is not doing any sort of self-custodial Lightning setup, that they're thinking that they might want to give this a try, what are the minimum kind of requirements to get this up and running? What are the first things that they have to do in order to start playing around with something like Alby Hub?
So it's just a fact, but you need about $20 for your first channel opening. That's one thing. And the other thing is you need somewhere to run Alby Hub. So it's designed to run 24/7. And we have a lot of reasons for that. But basically we want to make an amazing experience. And you can compare it to phone wallets. If you run a full node on the phone, it's slow. It takes time to sync on startup, all those things we abstract away with Alby Hub. So basically you need to run it somewhere. You can run it on your desktop. You can run it on a VPS, you can run it on a local server, a cloud server, or we have paid hosting available. We take care of everything. So those are the two things. I mean, it requires a bit more, commitment. So I would say if you only have, you have less than $20, you don't really plan to use it a lot. You're just testing. I would say just use a custodial wallet, right? Or a cashew mint or whatever. And what I'd really like to see, right, like, and it's happening, is I spend Lightning more and more. It's going to become my main wallet, right? So when you have thousands of dollars on there, or whatever it is, what your monthly or you'll have most of your funds in cold storage, of course, but your basically your check account will be on Lightning. What was it going to say? At that point, is basically, you probably want the keys to your money, right? You don't want to just one day lose your funds. So it's not for everyone yet, and we're really trying to bring it to everyone, but that's the current state. So if you kind of fit the requirements, you want to be self-sovereign, you use Bitcoin a bit in your daily life or a few times a month, then you just need a few things, and it's pretty easy to get started.
In terms of like computing hardware, because we don't essentially need much, right? Essentially, you just have to be running some implementation of core LND, and then you can plug into that, correct?
So actually, the default Lightning node is embedded inside Alby Hub. it's different on Start9 and Umbrella. So Start9 and Umbrella, they will connect to the existing LND and Bitcoin Core or Bitcoin Knots, whatever you run. But the default setup, if you run on a PC on a server, is LDK, and that's very resource efficient. So you only need like a megabyte of RAM, and you don't need much CPU. And we even ran. So there's a trade-off here. So you can either connect to your own Bitcoin Core, and then or you're not. So it's like using a Bitcoin wallet and requesting blockchain data from an external server. So what you can do is the default setup is you have the Lightning node embedded inside Alby Hub, and it uses Alby servers to get the blockchain data.
Got it.
So there's a trust assumption there, right? But what it enables is that you can run on very low tier hardware, right? I mean, I wouldn't recommend it, but we did test on Raspberry Pi Zero, which is like $20, just like a super tiny chip, right? And it can run Alby Hub.
Oh, nice.
But I would definitely recommend it. Like you upgraded a proper Umbrella or Start9, or a decent mini PC will work fine. Or if you run a VPS, just a standard VPS, just make sure that it's got a few gigabytes of memory just to be safe. You can definitely host it for less than $10 or use Alby hosting. We give a bit more convenience there. No maintenance needed.
I absolutely love it anytime I see that like something so powerful as Alby Hub can be run on like the cheapest possible hardware. Like that in terms of human sovereignty is always what I want to see. Like the lowest cost of entry and the lowest barriers to get this stuff up and running in a at least moderately self-sovereign way. I also was poking around last night, checking out the App Store too. There was a ton of things in there. In terms of somebody who's just got this kind of going for the first time, they're playing around with it. Which of the apps in the Alby store do you recommend? Like, you got to use these ones first. You got to check them out.
So I'd say the standard popular Nostr apps would be a good choice. So Amethyst, Primal, or Damus, whatever you like. Also Alby Go, like you installed, Nathan, is a really good combo because it basically enables you to use your Alby Hub in the real world, right? Scan QR codes, make payments. You can also try the Alby extension. So if you connect Alby Hub to the Alby extension, any website that supports, like any Lightning website, you can basically connect your wallet and make seamless payments. So there's things like Stacker News, or even like trading websites, LN Markets. You can pay directly from your wallet. There's a whole bunch I just recommend to explore. And one of the awesome things is these are all powered by Nostr Wallet Connect, and just as an open protocol, it's growing incredibly fast. It's really cool to see.
That's amazing. I love it. Is there anything that you guys have planned on the horizon anymore? Like, again, we just had, so I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. So we had the new update came out, which had Bolt 12s. It had on-chain to Lightning swaps and Lightning to on-chain swaps. There's a bunch of other things. What else is in the latest update, and what is it that you guys are working on?
We made some improvements to subwallets as well. So as an Alby Hub runner, you can basically become like your own wallet of Satoshi, right? You can give wallets to your friends and family. So now we have Lightning addresses for all our subwallets. So basically they scan a QR code with Alby Go and they're already set up. And they use your node, right?
That's
so
cool.
It's a bit more decentralized. That's one thing. Right now, we're going to be refining the onboarding a lot, because that's still one part where we've noticed a lot of people get stuck. Refining the App Store and trying to build more use cases, show what's really possible with programmable money, using Lightning, using Bitcoin, using Nostr Wallet Connect, all of those things. So as I mentioned, we just released a new product for AI. So if you're interested in building AI agents, that's one. And we just continue working on our three main products, which is the Alby extension, the original, Alby Go, the simple mobile wallet, and then Alby Hub, which is your hub for everything you do Lightning related. I think we're also going to add, related to the onboarding, make it easier for people to spend fiat to open channels and a few things. I mean, ideally Alby Hub, I'm a Bitcoin maximalist, but
Yep.
we need the on ramps, right, and the off ramps. We're also thinking about stable coins just for this on ramp and off ramp. We'll see how that goes. We'll see if our users that's something that our users would like to see. Not sure. At least where I live, it's all Lightning. We have like a influencer here. He's like Bitcoin only. It's super cool. But I know some places around the world there's a lot of stablecoin usage, so we have to take that into account. Not sure if you have any thoughts there.
I do. I have so many thoughts. My God, I think that it's meeting people where they are, and I am with you that I am, of course, a Bitcoin maximalist, and that's where I see things going. Like, I do think that the hyper-Bitcoinization is going to happen, but I do think it's going to be perhaps longer than we might anticipate, and there's going to be a transition. My viewpoint is very much so that all fiat currencies are likely going to collapse into the US dollar, and that will be the kind of the last boss battle, but we're not at that point yet. So I think that there are people that will come in to Bitcoin through stablecoins first. That might be their introduction because they just they don't have a lot in terms of savings. They need something that they have kind of, it's already got the large network effect in terms of retail and people willing to accept it. And then that will be their first introduction to seeing those two things kind of side by side, and then realizing the power of Bitcoin and making the shift. Plus, it'll be, you've already been using stablecoins, and going to use Bitcoin is a little bit more intuitive, right? You've kind of normalized this environment and this idea. So I think it's almost like the two will rise in tandem for the time being, and then that will be the final boss at the end of the movie here. One other thing that I want to touch on, because I know that so much of what you're doing is making, again, it's a better user experience, and we're trying to simplify running your own self-hosted Lightning node. We added challenging. There's something about channel rebalancing that was also added with the latest update as well too, because that is always something people have to be aware of. Again, having a Lightning service provider be able to open a channel for you is fantastic. What's going on with the new addition for channel rebalancing?
So ideally, so if you think of a custodial wallet, right, it's basically one node shared by many users, and that node will have many channels. But with a self-custodial node, it's more likely users will only have a few channels. And ideally, ideally the channels are always online, but in reality, it's a decentralized network, right? So you could have a channel open with another node, and that node goes offline, no matter what it is, like a power cut or they lose internet connection. And if you only have a single channel, then you cannot make payments anymore, right? You have to either open a new channel or wait for the existing channel to come online again. So the idea with channel rebalancing is that you can, if you have a lot of funds in one channel and not many in another, you can send funds from the first channel to the second and kind of balance them out, which means you can both receive and send. And if one goes offline, you still have this backup channel where you can make payments or receive payments. So I think it's more technical, and I mean, ideally for users, it's not something they want to deal with. For now, it's something you do manually through the UI, but later we can automate it. And it's the same with swaps, right? So in the UI, you can manually swap in and out to balance your liquidity, but now Alby Hub has automated swap outs. So it means for merchants, anyone who is receiving a lot, you can always guarantee that you have liquidity to receive payments. So if your channel becomes more than half full, it will just swap out with bolts and go straight to your hardware wallet or Alby Hub on-chain wallet, whatever you like. So yeah, I think it's a cool feature. I think also for people who are running routing nodes as well. Like you mentioned, Ben, right? His channel's got a bit unbalanced. So you can do swaps, or if only a few of your channels are unbalanced, then you can use rebalancing. I think it's a more advanced feature, not for everyone. But yeah, what we kind of do is we iterate a lot. We start with kind of like these manual features that you have to click and do sort of things, and then if we see people using them a lot, then we can add the automation, and it just happens behind the scenes.
I was gonna say, can I get my AI agent to just go ahead and like manage my liquidity on my node for me? Because that would be wonderful.
Yeah. But as we talked about Arc, I think, I mean, So Alby, I mean, we're trying to innovate, but today, right now in the present, Lightning, running a Lightning node is still the best way to be self-sovereign. We think Arc in the next 1-2 years, when this is refined, tested, battle tested, you don't have to deal with liquidity management at all, right? So that's what I would like to see we get to, but we have to deal with what's available today. And if you want to be self-sovereign, that means running a Lightning node. And I think you have to understand a bit more, but once everything's set up, I think it's a great feeling, right? So yeah, definitely recommend it for people who are a bit more invested into Bitcoin and Lightning.
Beautiful. With that, Roland, tell me, where can everybody go to check out your stuff, check out Alby's stuff? Where can they find you? All those fun links and handles.
Yep. So mostly we post on Twitter and Nostr. So just Alby search, you'll easily find us. I'm also on Twitter and Nostr, but I mostly post on Nostr. So yeah, trying to
spend time in the area you want to be.
Yeah.
If you enjoyed this episode with Roland, please do like and subscribe, and check out the previous episode with Robbie the Fire Bernstein.